be a liar if I said I'd be on time. I'd be a fool.
Welcome back to East Coast DNA. As usual, I'm your host, Darcy Walsh. And today's guests, I know one will be super familiar to a demographic of my audience out there, and the other is familiar to myself. Last year, I get the opportunity to catch the Act Two in the basement up in Halifax. And
Yeah.
today we have Brian and Tara here. Brian, some people may be familiar from his work with I Mother Earth in the late 90s, earlier 2000s. But yeah, today I kind of wanted to start with you, Brian, and get a little bit into not so much the I Mother Earth stuff, which is fascinating, but I know that I Mother Earth fans already probably know everything about you. And I kind of want to go a little bit further back. So, in the era where you would have taken over the frontman duties, in
Mhm.
that era, I was working in record stores already. So, definitely the rumor mill, like, it was more of a gossip, word of mouth marketing mechanism than
Yeah.
internet. Like, we had some semblance of internet, but it wasn't really used that way. So, definitely there was a lot of buzz about you at that time because as somebody that worked in music on the East Coast, and I was limited in my travel budget. So if I was out to see live shows, it was to see East Coast shows. So hearing that an East Coast artist was going to be fronting one of my favorite Canadian bands was huge news, and everybody talked about it. But I always wanted to have the opportunity to ask you where you came from beyond that. So all I really know is Newfoundland.
Okay.
So when did you
Uh,
start in music?
so the very first rock band that I was ever in was with my good friends back home, Rick Waterman, Chris Waterman, John Kennedy, and Todd Cook. And we obviously in Newfoundland and Corner Brook, and we had a cover band called Pandemonium.
Okay.
So I would have started that when I was 13. And I sang, stuff like "You Give Love a Bad Name," uh, "Master of Puppets," uh, "Never Tear Us Apart." Like just all over the map. But all of the good sort of like classic rock and roll from that 80s. The great big hits. I couldn't sing any of them.
I wasn't born yet.
Shit, Tara wasn't born. Which is- That's, that makes me sound weird, but it's not anyway.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so I did that, and then at the time, being a teenager, I wanted to play music all the time, but I was also really into competitive skiing at the time, and I was kind of splitting my duties, but I was also noticing, because again, we're young teenagers. My friends were different. Like the band guys were like the guys who were like smoking dope and doing bad things, and all this. My ski buddies wanted to be like super healthy and train all the time. So I found myself walking, down both roads equally, although really. And anyway, so yeah, I was doing that, and then I got more and more serious about it. Obviously, in a bunch of different bands as the time went on, mostly cover bands, doing a little bit of original stuff, and then that grew into something just much more serious where I really just wanted to pursue it. I mean, that really didn't happen until I was probably 19 years old, where I said, "This is it. I'm gonna try and push it and go." But yeah, that was it. It was Pandemonium in Corner Brook, like circa '88 or something.
Yeah. So years later then really before you had any involvement with I Mother Earth. So I only kind of vaguely remember how that happened. Like I mentioned, I was a fan of the original lineup when they were active as the original lineup. And
Yeah.
at the time that Edwin had departed the band, like that solo album that he did came out while I was still working at record stores too. So I have a lot of memories of talking to people in the store about it at the time, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you and I are not too far apart in age. And we're not going to talk about that. I know how old you are.
36?
I can I can relate.
Yeah.
So doing quick math, that makes Tara about 20 now, probably, if she's
Yeah,
younger than
Yeah.
both of us.
exactly.
Yeah. So I am curious. Like I mentioned, we can definitely talk about I'm on the Earth, but I'm sure that we could probably fill a couple hours just shooting the shit about stories about that. I want to know how Tara gets involved because we have a career where you're interested in music, you have a lot of experience, and you try out for a successful band, and we know that that was successful. You had two albums with them,
Mhm.
and then you
Yep.
did some solo albums as well.
Yeah.
But I don't really know at what point Tara comes into the equation.
Well, so
You actually, you and Andre saw our very first show together
Oh,
ever.
wow. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
that was
really
the first. Yeah,
amazing.
that was, yeah, the very
other
first
than
show.
kitchen tables.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That was our very first show. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No. No, go ahead. Obviously.
I never had any sort of like aspirations to be a singer. I don't
She's
think
a
like
fucking coattail rider, buds.
I mean
So,
I always loved it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you and I always played and we always sort of sang together, like just sort of having fun. But I don't think that I don't know why. I mean, this has come up quite a bit
Yeah.
recently. It's like, why, when did you guys decide to do this? It's like, I don't know why we didn't decide to do it sooner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've got a really good friend who said today, and I know we probably all agree, but everything happens at at a time for a reason and so on, right? And so like I think that I think that resonates with you when you start to reflect and go, well, why not sooner and why whatever. I think that Tara and I were just like busy, like Tara had our two boys like pretty close together. We were moving around.
Yeah. And I homeschool both boys. So
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's not an excuse. It's just like there was a lot going on, and I don't think that we ever felt like at one point in our lives, we would take the kids every night and lay down with them and read them books and wait till they fell asleep. Now we're like, fucking go to bed. No,
Yeah.
but no, but it's definitely different, right? Like now we can say, they're off doing their thing, and we'll sit and we'll play guitar.
Yeah.
Which is
there's definitely a more free time for us now that they're older and like a little bit more independent.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah, and so I think Tara, it did happen very naturally because, like Tara said, we always played together around the table or at a campfire or whatever. And then one night, I think we were like, oh, let's just write a thing, or I sang something. She said, oh, let's. I think it was really just like that.
It was
honestly.
like that. It was just sitting at the kitchen table, and you had sort of chords to something, and naturally, I had a chorus, or vice versa.
Mhm.
And then by the end of the evening, we had a song, and we were like, we should do this.
Yeah, we should do music.
Maybe we should do music. The rest of our life is fucking blowing up. We might as well try this.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing that because I do ask similar questions to a lot of artists. So I've heard like variations on a theme a few hundred times, but
Yeah, of course.
in your case, it's very organic, and not that a lot of artists are not, but a lot of cases it is that like, oh, I invited my buddy to come over into the garage because I was playing guitar and I needed a bass player. Like a lot of it starts coming that way, and then they find their own groove. But because
Right.
you have a pre-established connection, it did kind of organically evolve out of the fact that you're in each other's orbit that closely anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, uh, like obviously everybody has different experiences with music and with their career of at music and whatever. And I think like I had a lot of really great, memorable things. And I also had a lot of bad experiences. And I don't think that I'm, like special in that way. I think that you'll hear that from a lot of people, like a lot of artists, a lot of creatives who kind of go down the path. It's like, ugh, this, that, and the other thing. And then there's like those really, really high highs. And so I think too, to like kind of get back to loving it and not feeling the pressure of, say, a band situation, or even like a traditional setup where it's like, well, this is my writing partner. It's like, well, no, this is my, my wife, and we can fight and figure the fuck out and move on. And so it kind of makes for, something, even if it's not good, it's definitely honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we definitely agree on it and we move forward, and that's it. And I'm not allowed to move forward and she's not allowed to move forward until we both kind of go like, no, this is like, we feel this way, or this is cool or whatever.
Well, and it's neat because I haven't been on the scene, but I've been behind the scenes with Brian for like 16 years. So I've watched him record solo stuff. I've watched him do IME stuff. I've watched him form other bands. And I think the neat thing with us is that, because I've watched you sort of chase after like feels or vibes or like specific artists. And with this one, I don't think that there's any, like, we didn't have any expectations at all.
Yeah.
Like, we write when we're inspired. And it's not that we don't have things that inspire us, but we're not chasing after anything either.
Yeah. We didn't have any of that. Like, yeah, like we didn't have any of that, like, oh, it'd be cool if it sounded more like this or more like that or whatever. And again, like I know, like, you've talked to so many people. I know you've heard every story, and everybody likes to think that they're having the most original thought every second of the day when it comes to being creative. But I think that it was just it was a nice place to be, to not chase a particular sound, and kind of whatever came up.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess.
Now, I can kind of make an assumption, but since I'm talking directly to you, I guess it's a poorly phrased question. It's a new topic. So, as far as your transition from being in primarily bands, and then when you went and started releasing your solo material, um, I guess I don't know. We don't really have a way of referring to it because you were still doing I Mother Earth in early 2000s, and then in whatever we call that era, you switched over to your solo. So I know from talking to people and from being a fan, from talking to fans of bands and following the whole story behind everyone, reading interviews and listening to podcasts, like there is quite a bit of transition to go into that solo mindset. But I kind of imagine that gave you a creative freedom in its own right back then. And with what Tara's talking about too, that's kind of something that I was curious about from her point of view, seeing you do that over the years in the amount of time that she has been around you. Does it make it easier from a songwriting? I guess it's a question for both of you. So for you, Brian, transitioning from I Mother Earth to solo would have been its own challenges, but also provided you with different opportunities as far as writing styles. Like your genre somewhat shifted,
Oh yeah.
and you definitely would have targeted the same kind of demographic for fan base because that's how we do things in Canada. But as far as your musical stylings, they would have changed. But then now, Tara, where you're collaborating with somebody that you've seen them collaborate in different formats, is it easier for you guys to approach each other to write a song? Does it always come organically, or does like somebody write lyrics and then you sit down to build
Oh,
a song, or how does it work?
It's funny because it works in all kinds of different ways,
you're gonna answer
honestly.
this question too?
Of course.
Yeah.
If I let him do it, the 40 minutes will be up. But no, like, so one of my favorite songs was the song that you wrote for me, and I came up with I had the chords and I had a melody. And I hated all of the stuff that I was coming up with. Like, I just couldn't do it. And he's like, just write it, like write it. And I'm like, I can't, whatever. And I gave it to him 5 minutes.
Yeah.
and he had my favorite song like written, and I'm really
Picky as fuck.
it's like when it comes to words, I'm
Not
like
just words.
it comes to everything. I'm really picky. And so he handed me this sheet of paper and was almost like hiding, like he was ready for me to like just completely tear it apart.
Call ended. Mode of G5G2024. Disconnected.
We live with a robot, eh?
Yeah. It's amazing. We're in the Jetsons
Anyway,
world.
Right?
Yeah.
where did that come from? So anyway, I handed him or he handed me this paper, and he was waiting for me to like tear it apart or critique it. And I read through it and I was like, I love this.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? And I was like, I love every word. I would never change a second of it. And then sometimes when we're writing, it's a real collaborative thing where we're both like sitting there trying to come up with words, sayings. What are your thoughts?
Well, I like it's funny because I was just thinking about what Darcy was saying, and like for me, it's almost like a be careful what you wish for situation, because I did have a lot of complaints about the writing and creative situation in I Mother Earth, and there's a couple of things. Like one, I came into a situation that was already working, like where, Chris and Jag were the primary writers and that was their baby and that's what they did. So I was coming into their situation. I thought it was going to be, more involved, whatever. But these guys are like, they're like more than 10 years my senior. They've written 2 records. They have a lot of experience. And in my youthful arrogance, I thought, well, I should be the guy. I'm singing and I'm doing all this stuff. You know what I mean? So like, I'm willing to say, there was definitely like, I think that everything probably, could have been like internally dealt with a little differently or a little better at times for sure. But, for creatives like pushing at each other, stuff happens. But at the end of the day, I was unhappy with my input that wasn't accepted based on ego alone, because the stuff that we actually created, I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
And I'll never say otherwise. It's like, I hear some of those melodies and it gets me, like I can get choked up sometimes. So I'm really thankful that, Jag and Chris and the guys like took me through this process, and it was so arduous, and it was like, they pushed me all of the time in every way, because it did make me a more considerate, contributor to music, where I listen to stuff better, and I think about it differently, and I question my melodies, and I go back and I review and I try and make it better and whatever. And then on the other side of that, actually having the freedom to explore my solo side, I realized how good I was not. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like I still like, there's stuff that, again, I'm really proud of stuff that I've written, and I pull stuff out. I'm like, that's wicked. I like that song, and keep going and whatever. But there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, fuck, that's horrible. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. And, so again, careful what you wish for. Cause I had free reign of like, whatever I did with my music, but then like, add all the bits and pieces and like, dress it up with like chocolate sauce and put bananas and sparklers in it. It still was like a hunk of shit sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? So then that was on me, because I couldn't look around and go, well, it's because of that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
I can 100% relate, because early days of this podcast, and I mean, Andrew and Jeff, if you're watching this, about our collaborations. Definitely there's times where we were frustrated with each other trying to deliver a product that we had the same mindset, but we weren't going about it the same way. And
Yeah, of course.
as you can see, neither one of them are here right now. One's my brother and one's a friend of mine. There's no ill will there, but it's just me here. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can 100% relate. without getting into too much story. But it's that situation that at one point I didn't necessarily have the experience to know how to do everything myself. And
Yeah.
I just wished like I could just do it my way and know how to do it. And now I have to do everything. It's great. It's great to be able to, but the same way when you are kind of on your own, you do have to do a little bit of everything. And sometimes the end product is an end product, but it's not the quality that you envisioned because you're
Yeah.
stretching yourself too thin sometimes, or if you're really inspired and can't keep the pace, then you match the quantity and not the quality, which is
Yeah.
Yeah.
more comment on my own content than yours. But yeah, I can relate
I
for
get
sure.
it. Yeah, and you get into that situation too where there's other people in the mix, and so I didn't have a band, but I had people like a producer going, well, why don't you try this, why don't you try that, and I didn't have enough experience or enough like to go, oh, I don't think that that's the way I want that to sound,
Hmm.
because you've also got somebody, or not the producer so much in particular, because the producer actually on my first record was a brilliant person, and I love him dearly, and he's passed since passed, but anyway, but there are other people, right? Because so they're hoping for a hit or two or three or whatever, and they're hoping to make something of themselves, be it a manager or a label
Hmm.
that's distributing, whatever it is, right? Especially coming off of like I'm Mother Earth stuff. So there's a lot of shit that floats around where you're like, I don't know, I have no idea, like I don't know what to do, I don't know what anybody. I remember one time delivering something. I'm like, oh, it's a bit raw. Maybe you should like, do this and do this and do this and whatever. And I did that and that and that and deliver it. And they're like, sounds overproduced, man. I'm like, what the fuck do you guys want? Like, do you even want me to write music? I don't understand. No idea what's going on.
Yeah.
So, again, careful what you wish for. At least like in the band, like they not only do they have the experience, but they did have the balls to go like, nope, not doing it that way.
Yeah.
And so back to Tara and us doing stuff together, she is a very, and sometimes it hurts me, but she is a very honest sounding board, even when I don't want to hear it.
Hmm.
And I have to like get my head in my ass and just go, yeah, well, she's right on this. There's stuff that I'm right on as well, but I'll pick the times to kind of like fight for that, where I'm like, no, I'm right on this. Like we have a lyric that I was unwilling to change.
We got the biggest fight over, what is it, like 3 syllables? Yeah.
Possibly.
Is that 3, 4?
That's 4.
Yeah, 4
I don't even
syllables.
count.
Well, whatever. Close enough.
3, 4.
We got into the biggest racket because he wanted to use the word or the name of a place, Ponce de Leon, in a song, and I was like, you are not fucking putting that up like in a song and making it sound good. I don't care. And he did.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I'm gonna have to side with him. Maybe I shouldn't, but I've been on record in different episodes talking about stuff like that. So I like the quirkiness. It's an East Coast thing. We don't care if people get it. It's for us. We want that in the song.
Right. Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
my whole life. I don't care if people don't get it.
Yeah.
Is that what
Yeah. Ponce de Leon made it to the song. It's funny because when I said it and I wrote it, like I all I could think was, and don't get me wrong, but I could hear like a writer or like a poet like Gord Downey doing something like that, like using Ponce de Leon in a, you know what I mean? Like he's just like, and so like I was proud of myself that I thought of something that I thought was clever. But again, what I wrote wasn't eloquent. Like the framing of Ponce de Leon and
the way that it's sung, you like
yeah,
all of it.
it's not like, it's definitely not Gord Downey. There's nothing like,
Hmm.
yeah, but it's just like, oh fuck, he just said Ponce de Leon. It's like I could have said and it would have been just as crazy, maybe.
So now I am curious because we talked about collaborations, and obviously with two being a newer thing, we'll circle back to that in a minute here because we do want to talk about what's upcoming. But I did want to go back where I had already kind of talked about myself in relation to collaborations too. I know that I still, despite the fact that I do a lot of stuff solo, I do have a lot of collaborations that have been very successful, and I do look for further opportunities to do that. And part of that, often when we're creating content, whether it be music or videos or what have you, we look ahead and we critique what we're doing at the time so we can get better going forward, but we don't look back. So
Yeah,
I
right.
find going to collaborators that we collaborated with before, like I had mentioned, Jeff and Andrew, going back and doing anything with those guys is always great for me. It's a great experience because it does kind of the opportunities are few and far between and
Yeah.
times very limited, but it's always a good experience to kind of revisit those people and remember the connection that you had on that thing, that
Yeah.
project at that
Yeah.
time, and then kind of see where everyone has gone in that time frame. I know
Yeah.
you had the opportunity to perform with I Mother Earth again.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious from your point of view, did you have a similar experience being able to go and collaborate with people again? And I have no idea the history, but you did get to perform with Edwin as well. So from a fan point of view, it was amazing that people were able to see both singers at one show, but you have had the opportunity to reconnect with those people. So did that experience go well? Is it something that
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like so, like I talk to Jag like pretty much every day. Like if it's not like I'm on the phone up, we're texting each other, whatever. Um, a Christian I haven't seen in a bit or haven't talked to him much. He they had a really busy summer. Again, everything's like fine. And one of the things like the funny thing is that people like always did their best to like pit me and Ed against each other.
Yeah, you
Like
want to you want to in your head, but I know that that's not a thing because you came in after his departure.
yeah, and again, like I think that as a young man, 22 years old when I joined the band, like there was a bit of that like jealous girlfriend kind of thing
Hmm.
where I'm like, oh yeah, fuck Ed,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
he's that handsome, muscly guy. Whatever, whatever I said. Oh, he can't do this, or he can't do that. But I mean, again, that was like, again, the arrogance of youth and just being jealous and like, people hating me even though hadn't done anything yet. They just hated me for taking his place. So stuff that I had to like, defend, and it was really
Hmm.
weird. So,
But like you
but
said, you were a
I was
fan.
a fan.
Yeah, you were a fan
Yeah.
I
first.
love those records. Like I remember like listening to those records. I remember listening to 3 Days Old and thinking, oh my God, there's no better, cooler rock song in the world right now. And, when I got the opportunity to like sing that with them and do it live and like, this is wild for me. Right. So there was, aside from the only shitty thing is, we never had the pleasure of actually knowing each other.
Yeah.
We were doing different things, talking our camps, talking about each other.
Hmm.
When we got together and we did all that stuff, it was awesome. And I talked to Ed, like I haven't talked to Ed in a bit. Oh, I talked to him in the summer actually, but like he's a great guy. He's nice to me. He's nice to the family. He's nice to Terry. Like he's a fantastic person. And he stepped aside and did his thing and let me do my thing for a bit and switch it up. And so when we got to do it together, I'm with you. Like for fan, I know that if I was a fan and I got to see like both singers, like if I went to go see, like even like I don't care what you think of these guys, but I don't mean you. I just
Yeah,
mean
yeah,
people
yeah.
in general. But like if I went to see a show and Sammy and David Lee Roth both sang, I'd be like, this is fucking sick.
Yeah.
Like this is incredible. And they're very different Van Halen fans as well, right? But the core and the heart of the band is the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was awesome, and those shows are really fun. It's the
They
first
were.
time our kids got to see me to do the rock guy thing, right? They're just like, Dad looks like a weird like homeless guy or something. But
Actually, I went back to look at
Not
some of the
always.
performance video before we actually sat down to talk. I watched a few performances on YouTube, and I was curious about that dynamic too. That your look has definitely changed over the years from when you would have fronted them to when you're fronting them now? Did you get any comments from any of the fans? I wouldn't have used the term homeless, but you had the beard and the hat
And the
going and
hair.
everything. So
Yeah,
yeah,
well, it's funny because like I was saying today, actually, talking to another friend of ours, that uh, the way that I dress now is like more a reflection of who I actually am.
yeah,
And
yeah.
there was a time when it was a bit more like, no, it's not costume like, but it was really like, oh, it's got, doing this, and we had sponsorships from people and stuff like that. So it was a bit more contrived.
Mhm.
And I said, I'm also like, I love clothing. Like I don't, it doesn't matter. I'm, a 51-year-old man. I love clothing. I love boots and jackets and
Mhm.
t-shirts. I don't care. And and I said at one point, I would have been like embarrassed to admit that, like, 23, 25, even 30 years old. Like, I'm rock and roll. I'm too cool to admit that I like a cool t-shirt, but I do. And so now I'm like, well, this is kind of more, who I am, and I don't really care. You know what I mean? And and I'm okay to admit that, like, it took me an hour to look disheveled and lost and like I don't belong anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I 100% can relate. I just recently shaved down my beard. I had a pretty
Yeah,
good homeless guy beard going, and
love it.
I got the hair growing up. Never had that in my life, so I definitely think I might be slowly following in your footsteps there. So
Well, I'm gonna grow mine back then.
yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
God.
Well,
He's
and
just shaved it
actually,
off.
that's a good segue. Maybe we'll both grow them back because I think I'm going to be joining you on the road for a
I
couple
know.
dates with Andre that we mentioned earlier. So Andre Pettipas, for those that are watching, is doing some dates coming up with the duo known as Two. And East Coast DNA is tentatively along the ride to help document some of that journey. So I think
That's
we're going to be
exciting.
spending some more time together. But
Yes.
for the band itself, like for Two, um, one thing I want to know is what you have coming up. There, I'll put the tour dates in the description so we don't have to just list them off. But you had mentioned that I saw your first performance, which was just a little over a year ago. So
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
do you have intentions to do like a longer tour or release some recorded material in the next foreseeable future?
Yeah.
Yeah. We both actually. So like, we're gonna go down east for a couple of weeks, and I mean the whole East Coast swing is actually, almost entirely, like I would say 95% because of Andre.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Andre is actually, and not because we're, sitting here talking about it and whatever, but he's one of our favorite people. Like he's
Yeah.
just he's such a kind, uh, positive go-getter of a human being. Like it's fucking inspiring to watch, man.
Yeah,
And so
one of the easiest collaborators, being that we talked about that a lot too. Yeah.
Right?
yeah, he just because he actually does just want to create.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's no pretense with it, and
Hmm.
there's no like what's in it for me. It's like I just want to do shit,
Yeah.
and that's why I feel that's why he's so good and he's so open.
Yeah.
Um,
He's the best.
yeah, but so we're gonna, but enough about him. We're gonna do that swing, and then Andre and I were talking about like stuff up here, like in Ontario. Really want to get him up playing this way. A
Yeah.
couple of people have been, because we just finished a few shows in Ontario, and they want to do something kind of a little bit bigger. Been talking to some people like out in Alberta, and to be totally fair and realistic, we got back from the States in April. We recorded in May.
Was it May or was it June?
No, 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 it wasn't
Oh,
June.
it was
No.
May because we
Yeah.
released our first single
Yeah.
in June.
So we recorded
June?
the first 3 songs in May, released the first song in June. We're going to release the next one next Friday.
Okay.
And so I said, Tara, realistically, it's not my first, run at this, and it really is going to take the better part of the year to plan and to do, because like, shows started happening. It's like, oh wow, you guys you exist still, and you're in Ontario, and let's do another thing. And then a person reaches out and like, will you come do this? And we can. So I think that, by, and my hope is, this time next year we'll be reflecting on some, some festival plays, and, some good, like solid, like, 100-person capacity, like listening room stuff, and more music out. Because I think that, I think that we have the ability to go do something really fun, sustainable, and realistic. Like I don't have any, uh, thoughts of being on a globe-trotting tour or anything like that. But I do know that I want Tara and I to play as much music as we can, wherever we can, and just keep doing it with good people. And that really, like, moving into like the, this part of my career and this part of my life, and with my kids and my wife, that's what I want.
Yeah.
It's like, that would.
You should probably give them our socials,
Yeah,
where people can follow us.
I don't know though. I don't know those. I don't know what they are.
I've got
no
you
idea.
both covered as the music journalist in the room. I'll make sure that information's in the description for the episode.
Perfect.
So
along with all the actual dates.
yes,
Yeah,
the actual tour dates.
Oh, we're so bad.
No, I think I know what days we're playing.
I don't.
But I mean, like, my Instagram, because mine is like, anyway, it doesn't matter. Brian _ something or other, fucking exclamation mark, whatever. I don't know. Squiggly line.
Subscribe now. So I do have one more question before I let you two go. Pun intended. The band too. So you did just have a single out. You have a single coming up. Is there something that you'd like to play off with? We'll give like a 60-second snippet of one of your songs to play off.
Let's see. Should we do a little teaser of Love You More?
Sure.
Said I'd be